Rising. It's Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a fun one today. We're gonna learn how to do whipping post by the Allman Brothers Band. So one thing about whipping post is it's more of like an improvisation vehicle than anything. You know, the most popular versions of it are probably the live versions that go to like 22 minutes, 30 minutes long, whatever. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna show you all the riffs and the kind of harmony sections and everything that like they occur on the studio recording that Dickey Betts and Duane Allman are playing. But when it gets to the solo sections, I'm gonna go more into kind of teaching mode and show you how to develop your own improvisations like that, how to use the same scales, the note choices that they're making. So you understand where the solos come from, so you can do your own kind of improvisations with it. Now this goes back to, I just recently did a very in-depth course called the Blues Rock Bootcamp in my Guitar Academy, the GL365 Academy. See a link to that in the description below, where I talk about how just kind of go through this blues rock style from the 60s, and we go kind of decade by decade all the way through to modern players. And you'll see that there's a lot of similarity about how all of them visualize the fretboard. And it's really across a couple of very simple patterns. And then they kind of add their own thing around those two patterns, but it's really, that's the foundation of most of their playing. So we're gonna talk about those patterns and then show you the alterations. There'll be a download that comes with this, which will show you what I'm talking about when I get to that part of the lesson where we kind of talk about what they're doing during the solos. But if you really want a more in-depth study of it, join my academy and click on that Blues Rock Bootcamp. It's an 8-week course that's already filmed. You can watch all the lessons now, and it's like 16 hours of video or more. So there's a lot going on there. All right, so now we're in standard tuning here, so nothing new there. And we have this intro to start with. It kind of starts on the bass, and then we kind of come in with this. So I have a couple of guitar parts going on here. I'm kind of rocking this thing up today. I always like doing that, taking like 70s classic stuff and just using maybe just a little bit too much gain, but it makes it funner for me. I don't know why. So anyway, I'm a metalhead at heart. So anyway, we're gonna start here. We're gonna be pulling off, we're gonna pick the 5th fret on the low E string, and then just pull off to the 3rd fret, and then hammer back and forth, kind of hammer back on 5, pull off to 3. So they kind of do that like 3 times, and then he'll pick it. So he kind of comes in and picks it like every 3 times. So after you do that 3 times, then you come over and play 5-3 on the A string. And just gotta repeat that. Now over that we have this. All right, so that's gonna be here at the, you're gonna pull off 7 to 5 on the D, and then go back to 7. So he kind of does that, where he just kind of pulls off to 5, and then comes and picks 7 and stops. So you do that twice. You can ask him why I brought on that 7. And then the 3rd time, he goes, kind of does the pull off twice. And then we're gonna go over to 7-5 on the D, on the G string, and then back to the 7th fret there on the D. So we have this. And then it's kind of repeat. Then we get to the verse, which is a very interesting kind of chord progression. It's really kind of a modal thing. And then what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to pick a part where I think is kind of going on between both guitar players. There's a little lick that keeps happening in there. And then there's like the very sparse chords, the kind of intervals being played that emphasize the chords. So I'm going to put those together and kind of come up with this. right, so that's gonna start here. You hear this one? So one of the guitar players is doing that fill, so I'm just kind of adding it to the chords. So I'm gonna start here by just really doing, you kind of have the basses kind of really, and the organs just kind of really holding on that A down there. But we're gonna have this second fret on the G and the B. And then fourth fret on the G and third fret on the B. And then the fifth fret there on the G and the fifth fret on the B. With this. Now if you want, you can just go back to the previous chord. And just kind of do that, the chords like that. But I like to add that fill in there. So that little fill is happening on this, when we go back to this chord the second time. So I'm just kind of, when I pick that note, that chord, hammer on the fifth fret there on the G, then back to the 4, and then over to 5 on the D. All right, and then we get to the pre-chorus. Now we have a couple of guitars there. Once again, a lot of the chord work, the actual harmony stuff, I think is being played by like the organ and stuff. But we can kind of sometimes just kind of emulate it with the guitars. So we have like a lower guitar line that would be played by Dickey Betts, and it's probably something like this. All right, so that's just kind of a quick pre-chorus. So we're gonna start here with this. We'll do the little lead fills in a second that were done by Duane. So we're gonna start with this open A string, then 3, 4, 5 on the D, on the A string, made our way up to the D note. So when you get here, you're gonna hold this next D7 chord. This is kind of where I'm just kind of doing the overall harmony that you hear on the recording. Don't know if it's this actual chord voicing. So there's just the kind of a bar at the 5th fret, and you have the 7th fret there on the D string, and then the 7th fret there on the B. So you're gonna hear that 5th fret there on the G, right? Because you got that with the bar. So this. Then from here, so that was just 5, 6 on the A, and up to that same chord, but now at the 7th fret instead of the 5th. All right, so that's kind of the rhythm guitar line. And then on top of that, we have this. All right, so especially even with these licks, I'm not gonna try to get too detailed on it. It's kind of similar to what he did there. But he kind of leads into it, sliding at the, so what he's doing here, first of all, is coming out of this kind of D minor blues. So that's gonna be here, that's over the D chord. So when you hit the D chord, you have that shape. So I look at the blues scale as it's really just a kind of an altered pentatonic. It's the easiest way to think of it. So he's based around this minor pentatonic, which you're probably familiar with here in D minor. It's that same shape that everybody knows, but here at the 10th fret here. So 13, 10 on the high E and the B, and then 12, 10 on the G, D, and the A, and then 13, 10 there on the low E. So those licks are coming out of that, so he kind of. So it's kind of that thing that when you first hear it, because kind of does a double stop, picks across those 2 notes at the 10th fret on the high E string, kind of barred. A high E and the B, into a bend at the 13th on the B, and then back to the 10 on the high E, 10 on the B, and then to the bend at the 13th fret on the high E. And then back to the bend at the 13th. So it's kind of somewhat. And then when the chord progression gets to the E7, he just takes that same scale pattern and moves it up 2 frets to the E. And then basses the licks around there. And that's kind of like, he goes up into the next kind of pentatonic shape there, the first. And so that's kind of starting the same way. Kind of going across those 2 notes of the 12th fret. So, but now he just got, the first bend he does is on the high E string now, the 15th fret, instead of, back here. Then back down to 12, and then he goes up to the 17th fret. And does a bend there. So with this. All right, so that's basically D minor pentatonic and E minor pentatonic over that, the D7 and the E7. And then we get to the chorus. And the chorus has 2 kind of distinct parts to it that are kind of harmonizing each other. So we have Dickey Betts' part, looks like this. All right, so that's going to be, so there's kind of, once again, the harmony is really being held by the bass and the organ and stuff. So you can kind of hit that. You can hit that in between if you want, but I don't think they're actually doing that. It's the other instruments doing that. But so his little line is, so that's going to be, we're back in A minor pentatonic. So we're back in A basically. You actually have the upper harmony part is going to be major, but major pentatonic. But we're going to basically play the 5th fret on the high E string, then 8-5 on the B, then jump over to the 7th fret there on the D, over to then 7-5 on the G. I just gotta repeat that. And then they're gonna hit like a C chord, the C power chord, I guess, or a C major chord if you want, here at the 3rd fret. I feel like I'm dying. And then we have this. So that's just kind of 7th fret on the G, bend it up. Back down to hit it without the bend, 7-5, and then on to 7 on the D. I'm sorry, it goes 7, 7, 5, then do that again. Then pull off 7, 5, then go over to 7 on the D. So this first 2 has that bend on top. All right, so that's Dickey Betts, that whole kind of chorus section. And then you have Duane Allman, who's doing this. All right, so his is going to start down here. A little bit different here. We're going to be at the 9th fret, so 9, 7, 5 on the high E string. Kind of that staccato feel to it. Then over to the 6th fret there on the G. And then 7, 5 on the B. Just repeat that. That same C chord. So that's going over this. have that on top. So you do this 3 times, hit that C chord for both, come back and hit that. And then when we have Dickey, Betts doing this, we have Duane up here. So that's a bend up at the 15th fret there. So at the 15th fret, then pick 15, 13, and do that again. And then a kind of a pre-bend. Kind of, it picks it, bends it down, releases it, pull off to 13, overdo 14 on the G. All right, so that's the chorus, and then we get to the harmony section, and the harmony section, it kind of starts kind of da-da-da-da, but that's not on guitars. That opening notes are kind of on the organ, and then we have the actual guitar part starts. So we have Dickey Betts is doing the lower harmony. They're harmonizing in fifths here, so it looks like this. So we're going to start here at the 7th fret there on the D. Then up on the G, 4, 5, then 7, 5, 4 on the G, then over to the 5th fret there on the D. So that's the melody. And then you just kind of start over. So the last time you play this, slide into that to kind of resolve it, to go back to the first note, slide into it. Now we have Duane harmonizing that a 5th up. Looks like this. All right, so that's gonna, now you can literally do the exact same thing up here, but up 7 fret. Not change the fingerings, but when you see videos of Duane doing it, he did it here. So it's at the 9th fret there on the G, then 7, 8, 10, 8, 7 on the B. Then go over to the 7th fret there on the G, and then just repeat from there. Once again, slide into that last note. All right, then we get to our first kind of true solo section here. Now we're going to go into a little bit how you want to approach it. There are a few kind of different sections, like there's a couple different new sections to learn after this, but I want to kind of go a little bit more in depth about what's going on during the solo. So the solo, for all the improvisations you see them do on the recording or live, very extended improvisations, now they're based around A minor pentatonic. So the way you'll see it, if you look at, if somebody's already gone through my blues rock boot camp, you will know these patterns very well and a lot more in depth than what I'm going to cover them here. But first we want to get those nailed, and then how they're visualizing them as well. And not just them. Most blues rock based players visualize their minor pentatonic this way. So it's based, the first pattern is kind of based around that same pattern we did here. That basic minor pentatonic root shape that everybody's familiar with. So since it's in A, it's down here at the 5th fret. All right, so Now, how that scale is typically used is they'll use most of that form when they're improvising. Usually down and through the 5th string. When they get here, they go back to the form behind it. That's generally how you're going to see a blues rock player play. So you don't do a lot down here on this low E string on that form. You can if you want, but like I said, typically in practice, when you see these guys do it, they're all doing it kind of the same way. So now I'm not just talking about them. We're talking from the 60s all the way through Clapton to David Gilmour to Jimmy Page to Joe Bonamassa. Everybody, they're kind of looking at it. So because it works really well underneath the fingers. So we're going to start here. This minor pentatonic. Now I'm going to include a download here. So you're going to see the minor pentatonic scale in this download are going to be the main notes that are there on the scale chart, which is what you're going to base your visual points off of. We're going to get that down for you. Now, what we do here at this first pattern to extend it is on the top 2 strings, we shift up into the next pentatonic shape, which is, so we're 5, 8, you'll see that little extension notes go up to 10. So now when we get here, we're actually in the next scale pattern, pentatonic shape up. And then 8, 10 on the high E. So instead of playing the whole pattern there, you'll typically just see the top 2 strings used. Or maybe down to the G string. And then here, instead of this whole shape, you just see the bottom 2 strings generally used. Like I said, you can if you want to. I'm just talking about how it's usually used. So now after we have that minor pentatonic framework down, there's another pentatonic shape that we can use to play a little bit up the fretboard. And it once again kind of combines, we're using the meat of one pattern really. And extending it with a couple of strings on each side. So that form would be up here, would be. So we're gonna be up here, we're gonna play 15, 12 on a high E. So this is also A minor pentatonic up here at the 12th position. Then 15, 13 there on the B. You see this on the printout. These are kind of the essential notes, right? So we kind of typically use that much of the form, just the top 4 strings. Then you go down to the next form before it to kind of extend it a little bit. So down to the 10th fret there on the D, and then 12, 10, 12 on the A's. Sorry. And once again, we can extend it higher on this with this form by doing the same thing we did here. By doing the same thing there. All right, so now those are written out. I know I flew through them. If you really want to get kind of down into the nitty-gritty of how these things are visualized and why they are the way they are, Blues Rock Bootcamp. I know I'm still in my course, but get the whole, by the way, the whole academy, not just that course, by this subscription. And free link, the link below will give you a free 7-day trial if you've never had a subscription. Now, what do we do with that? Now, if we just did that minor pentatonic the entire time they do it for like 30 minutes, and they're like, it's going to get a little bit boring. So they add a lot of little variations to it, okay? So the most fundamental variation is they're going to add the blues note here or there, all right? So you're going to see on that chart, that one's kind of, I don't know if it's parentheses. I haven't written this chart out yet, so I'm just kind of doing this in my head. But that is kind of like, I see that as just a variation to the pentatonic scale. We're not adding anything to it. That's how I just view blues scales. You're still visualizing minor pentatonic. We can add this little note for flavor every once in a while, but it's a passing tone. It's not used every time. If it does, it gets really tiring to the ear as well. So right? So you can use it wherever you want to. It doesn't really. But now, that's going to be there. That's one option. But what they also do is they add a couple other notes to it. And these are ones that you can visualize them around this familiar pentatonic shapes, and it gives you a lot of leeway. You're still visualizing minor pentatonic, but you can add the ninth in, which is any kind of B around. So you'll see those now listed as notes that you can, kind of optional notes. That kind of, now this by itself is like, that doesn't sound very good. But in context, it sounds really, really cool. So you see a lot of blues bass playing that will add that, the ninth in. So if it's an A scale, or you can call it the second as well, it's the second note in the scale. So it's going to be a B. If it's an A scale, it's going to be the note. So in this common patterns, it's right there on the 7th fret. But wherever you do this, and it's right here, there. All right, and then another note that we can add, and it gives it kind of a Dorian flavor, is the natural 6. So that's going to be in the key of A, it's going to be an F sharp. So that's the same fret that we did here, the 7th fret on the high E string to include that 9th, but we're going to include the 6th there. And whenever you do that, it gives it kind of a Dorian sound. So I use both of them there. Now I want you to focus on minor pentatonic. I mean, it's still 85, 90% of the notes. It just comes straight out of minor pentatonic. It's what you're visualizing. Think of the other notes as just little options that you get. Now you will hear him actually, instead of bending this note up to the major third, but I think that's actually kind of the least used optional notes. So that is kind of just like, we have that major third is in the chord, and basically makes it quickly like a major pentatonic. So you hear that a lot, kind of the Clapton, like, so this minor third and hammering on 5 to 6 on the G. You'll hear that. Or when he's kind of bending up that note that we added up a whole step to make it a major third. But whenever you hear that, it kind of resolves it down to minor pentatonic very quickly. All right, so those, you'll see on the chart that I'm going to do those same notes that we can add here. I'm going to add it. And add them up there as well. So you have basically 2 areas that you can improvise in. Now, a lot of us, when we want to learn our pentatonics and learn them all over the fretboard, we're like, let's do this exhaustive thing and do pentatonics all over the place. You will notice if you especially you're a blues rock lover and you follow all the blues rock legends, they don't use all 5 patterns, the entire pattern of each one. They use little bits and pieces of each. And a lot of them, 90% of the time, move between them just like this. Just very select portions of the lick, of the thing. And they do all their improvisations in that. So that's what you're learning. You're really learning kind of the heart of the blues rock style right here. Visualize it as those minor pentatonic shapes with these alter notes that you can add around it. And you can then cue up whipping post and improvise for an hour and a half and have a lot of fun with it. Anyway, so you'll see the chart. If you want to get more into that kind of style and study, check out my Guitar Academy. I got a ton of courses in there, but Blues Rock Bootcamp will be right up your alley if you like this kind of thing. Then let's get to the rest of the song. So we're gonna, out of that solo section, we go back into the same verse, same pre-chorus, same chorus, and same harmony section, and then another solo section once again, based out of A minor pentatonic with some of those variations we talked about. And then there's this little scale climb that happens that kind of leads to the climactic part of the song. It looks like now this little scale climb looks like this. All right, so that's just the rhythm is just 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 on each note. So that's easy. What are the notes themselves? There's a lot of ways you can play this, obviously, on the guitar. There's no kind of like really nice video of them doing it back in the day, which is usually, I mean, you can a little bit. You have like here's a distant shot, but we'll just do it like this. It really doesn't matter. So we have on the A string 0 2 3, and then go on the D string 0 2 4 5 7. So like this. So with the rhythm. Now the rest of it's on the G string. We're going to play the 4th fret, 5, 7, 9, 11, then 12, 13, and then when you get to 14, you just hit that once, and so all together. All right, and then we get to this section where they're going to be playing some unison bends, one up here and one here, and then there's some chords being hit in between it. So I'm going to do, let's say, if you want to hit the chords and play the unison bends, it will look like this. All right, so that's an A major bar chord. Just full bar at the 5th fret there, 6 on the G, 7 on the D and the A. Hit that twice, and then we got this unison bend. So that's holding the 5th fret on the high E, and the 8th fret there on the B. You hit those together, and then bend up that note on the 8th fret on the B string. So it is. And then we're going to come up here to the 7th fret. So it's going to be a B minor chord. So full bar at the 7 with the 9th fret on the A and the D. Hit that twice, and then back to the same unison bend. And then a C major chord. So it's the same thing as we did the A major, but at the 8th fret. And then back to that unison bend, and then that B minor again. So we have this. Now, of course, we have this unison bend is be playing an octave higher as well, too. So the same thing, but 12 frets up at the 17th fret. So 17 here on the high E, 20 on the B. So you can keep jumping back if you want, or you can just have one guy. And the guy that has to do the unison bend down here can grab the chords, or this guy can go nuts. All right, so that's this, I just kind of call the unison bend section. And then it gets to the pre-chorus, but it's a little bit, doesn't do that. There's no chromatic walk-up. It's just like, just jumps right into the D7. Into the E7. And then into the chorus. So now, it's basically like the previous pre-chorus, don't do that little, the little chromatic thing, just straight the D7 and the D minor pentatonic shape over it, and then over the E7, that E minor pentatonic, and that's it. All right? Too fun. And then we get to the same chorus that we did before, and and then we get to this little outro section. And then once again, this is going to be something where I'm going to kind of combine a lot of stuff that I'm hearing in the recording. So we're going to start by, it's going to sound like this. So it's really just a lot, the whole band's just kind of letting the A ring, and then they're just kind of doing some cool stuff over it. So I'm kind of putting my favorite parts over there. So you just let this A ring and just kind of pick it, and then first what I'm going to hold is the 5th fret on the high E and the B, and the 4th fret there on the G and the D. So we're going to pick the top note and the open A together, and then pick the 5th fret there on the B, then the 4th fret there on the G, and 4th on the D. And then here we're going to come up here and grab this, which is kind of a bar at the 7th fret across the top 4 strings with the 8th fret there on the B string. So kind of strum really the top 3 strings, and then kind of pick across them high E, B, G, D. Got that 7th fret there on the D. And then you can hear, you really hear this still ringing out, and then you hear the kind of, it's a little dirty trill going on between 12 and 15 on the high E. And so I just kind of grabbed a E minor triad under it. Just for whatever. Or you can just, and that's about it. That's what I kind of got for the ending. It kind of just fades out, and they're just kind of really making some cool kind of grabbing notes out of this kind of it's just A tonality, and just kind of doing what they want with it as it towards the end of the song. Anyway, so it is a lot of fun to play. Hopefully you'll have some people to jam with. All the solo sections are just over the verse pretty much, and you can just kind of just go for days and just improvise. A lot of fun. So hopefully you guys will get something out of that little tutorial section of how they approach scales, or most blues guitar players visualize scales, and how you can add cool variations along the way. All right, I'll see you guys again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.